What a day. It's actually a really gorgeous day today. And we're on our way to lunch, cutting across campus. Maybe we'll see my son. He cuts through here every now and then because he has a class on the other side of the close. And his school's on one side and he's on the other. So the boys will cut through here during the day. No pho, there's not really any good. The best pho is in Virginia. And it's not that far, but I need a scooter. And I don't really feel like scootering today until later because I got to come back later and do stuff with the kid. So, here at the National Cathedral, I think especially the Cathedral of St. John and Paul or something. It's an Episcopalian church, which is a Church of England. And we are going to make our way over to the school where my son goes to school. On the other side behind me is the National Cathedral School, which is an all-girls school, and my sons attend an all-boys school on the other side. So I spent quite a lot of time here. It's funny, when I lived here, I probably came to the cathedral maybe 2 or 3 times over 20 years. This cathedral bigger than Notre Dame? I think it might be, actually. I've been to Notre Dame. I mean, that is as tall as I think the steeple was in the back. I don't know, it'd be interesting. Notre Dame was pretty big. This is newer. I mean, this is only 100 years old. It's designed to look older, but it is only 100 years old. So let's keep making our way back here. We'll go over to the Peace Cross. You can see the Washington Monument off in the distance there. The Washington Monument is right next to the White House. There you go. There's the Washington Monument. Or as I heard a tourist say today, the big stick. And this over here is the Peace Cross. Peace being the Spanish-American War. Yeah. So this Peace Cross, which is I guess a Scottish thing, was put up at the end of the Spanish-American War, and I think Teddy Roosevelt or Taft, I can't remember, it was about that era. This cross is raised in 1898. Oh, the founding of the cathedral. Okay, well, I guess I was wrong. I thought it was the Peace Cross for the war. Hello. There's the cathedral over there. All right, let's see if we can cut by the school. Run down a hill. What's inside the National Cathedral? It's a big church. It's got the flags of all the states and territories. I think there's a president buried there, and I can't remember which one. I think there is a president buried in the National Cathedral, and a few other people. There's some boys playing lacrosse frisbee. Yeah, churchy stuff. That's probably the best way to put it. Churchy stuff. This is the school my kids go to. I pick them up here every day. There's older boys out there today. The cathedral is open to the public, but it requires a tour ticket. It costs money. It's open to, you can go to Mass at any time for free, but if you want to do the formal tour of the cathedral, you need to buy a ticket. And now that's a new thing. It used to be free to the visit. You used to be able to just walk in. But about 5 years ago, the cathedral was damaged in an earthquake. It caused about $35 million in damage. And they had no reserves. They had no financial reserves at all. So they've had to scrimp and save and charge money for tickets to tourists and pretty much anything they can do to do it. It is very expensive. Oh, it's like $10 to go see the cathedral. My kids go, it's an Episcopalian school. It's not actually a Catholic school. It's a Church of England. The Episcopal Church is basically the American version of the Church of England. They attended a Lutheran school in Hong Kong, so they were familiar with the concept of a church school. We're actually Catholic. My son was baptized at Notre Dame by Father Ted Hesburgh. Yeah, Father Hesburgh baptized my son at Notre Dame. Harry Potter is back over there. So they got Gryffindor house. I can't really see it right now. It's a beautiful day. So this is Wisconsin Avenue. This is going to take us all the way down into Georgetown. This is about a mile walk I've got, maybe a mile and a half coming up. We're going to go right into the heart of Georgetown. Then we're going to decide, are we going to get a burger? Or are we going to get some Korean food? I think Korean food. Oh, Vice President Pence lives to my left, but back a little bit. We're going to see an alleyway up ahead that's sort of like the secret exit for the Vice President's house. But we're not going to walk right past his house on this path. He lives on Massachusetts Avenue, which actually intersects Wisconsin right back over there at that park. Hey, Zen. So, not going to directly go past it. So I went house hunting the other day in this neighborhood. Basically, everything around here starts at about $2 million. The stuff that's cheaper is really run down. It is a gorgeous day. Its temperature is about 73 Fahrenheit. What's that, about 25? No, 75. So it's about 25 Celsius. The prices are about the same. The DC housing market doesn't really do much. It doesn't shoot up exponentially, and it doesn't crash either. It's just steady. It's like treasury bills. Yeah, they pay this fixed rate of interest pretty much forever. So you see this little house here. This place is easily like $1.2 million for this house because of the neighborhood. Yeah, definitely. I'm on Wisconsin Avenue. I'm approaching the Russian embassy. Now, as far as I can tell, this house is not real. This house is fake. This house is an electric power substation. All right, so there's an electrical switching station inside, and they built a facade of a house around it. But it's not actually anyone lives there. The neighborhood didn't want a big jumble of wires and switches and humming noises. So they said, okay, you can build a house, but you can build your switching station, your power station, but you got to just make it blend in. So they built that. How did I know that? There's never anyone there, yeah, except Chinese menus stuffed in the door. There are huge danger, major electronics, high voltage stickers on all the windows and all the doors. And the only people I ever see there are like power company vehicles. And I remember I had read that in some neighborhoods in the old days they had done something like that. It's funny, I was out in Napa Valley about a month ago, and I saw a cell phone tower that looked exactly like a tree. It was kind of wild. I mean, you could tell up close, oh, that's a cell phone tower, it's not a tree. But from like 2 miles away, if you were taking a picture down into the valley, you really couldn't tell. It just looked like another tree. Trying to blend in there. Oh, there we go. That's the Russian embassy, folks. This used to be a hospital. So this is one of the highest points in Washington, D.C., and the Russians are here to listen in on our conversations. Hello, Boris. Hello, Natasha. There are cell phone towers, but the signals are actually pretty weak. I don't really think there's towers. They're just on top of buildings and stuff. It's a nice donkey. So that's the Russian embassy. Yeah. There's a tunnel under here. I'm not really sure where, but the FBI dug a tunnel under the embassy just because. And nobody really knows why. There's no real point in having a tunnel that goes under the embassy. They just did it for the hell of it. So somewhere underneath me is a secret FBI spy tunnel. And like they dug it and then they're like, okay, so now what? They're like, I don't know. There's a tunnel under, I think, that apartment building or one of these houses. There's a tunnel that goes under the Russian embassy. And I've been told people in the intelligence community have gone in there even and taken the snapshots, but it's not open to the public, of course. Because they built it just because they thought, oh, well, we should have a tunnel under the Russian embassy. Oh, that makes sense, let's do it. And then they're like, well, what are we going to do with the tunnel? I don't know, store books? Yeah, it's just crazy. People are just weird sometimes. Hey, Bianca, welcome to Periscope. And welcome to Wisconsin Avenue heading into the Georgetown neighborhood of Washington, D.C. We still got about a mile or so until we get into the historic. This is Glover Park neighborhood, and then next is Georgetown. And X-Ginger, another Periscope newbie, welcome to Washington, D.C. Yeah, like tunnel under the house. Though you know what's strange, there was a house that blew up in Maryland, and they went to like investigate, and they found that the guy had dug all sorts of tunnels under his house, under his neighbor's house. He just had like this warren of tunnels underneath his house. And they're like, what the flip? And it turned out he was like some apocalypse is coming, nuclear war is coming kind of dude. And he built like all these tunnels to like prepare for the impending nuclear war or something like that. I don't know. It was beyond wacky. Hans Molnan, yes. You know, had those days where you're like, I really shouldn't have worn a hoodie. Yeah, I just crossed, I don't know where I just crossed, Calvert Street. So I'm at Wisconsin and Calvert, C-A-L-V-E-R-T. Barbecue. Glover Park. Yeah, my favorite barbecue is right over there. Auckland's Barbecue. And there is this wafting barbecue smoke that's just blowing all over the street. It's like, it smells really good, actually. How long is this walk along? It's gonna be a while, yeah? I've got another bit of a hike to go. So, I don't know, it can be at least 20 minutes maybe. Where are we? We're in the 2300 block, and I need to go to the 1200 block. So I gotta go nine very long blocks down Wisconsin Avenue. And then I'm gonna hang a left and go a few blocks to the Korean place. I mean, I really don't feel like Korean food today, but it's like healthy, and I just hate my diet. It's because living in the U.S. Has made me fat. It is downhill, but I do have to go uphill. No, Americans don't usually walk anywhere. So this is all kind of unique. So you guys are asking about the vice president. So this is a strip club, a Good Guys Club. The downtown is pretty modern and stuff. So there are other parts of town here now. So that's the back door to the vice president's house. You can go through that gate and you'd be at the vice president's house. It's closed to the general public. In fact, it's generally closed at pretty much everyone. They put everybody through the more secure entrances on the other side. I think that's sort of like a bug out exit. Like if they really got to bail. It's for the vice president. If for some reason if their exits to Massachusetts Avenue are blocked, they can escape out the back door to Wisconsin Avenue. So let's say, I don't know, there's some sort of terrorist attack or even just traffic on Massachusetts Avenue. The vice president can get out the back door and onto his secure facility, wherever that might be. Down here is the Chinese embassy in China, but their visa section. So the actual Chinese embassy is in another part of town, but they do all their passports and visas down here. Could rent a scooter. Any good food spots? Up around, I mean, compared to Hong Kong, the food here is atrocious and disgusting. Just pathetic, actually. And there are a few places I eat, but they're not really great. They're just sort of passable. That's been the biggest and most hardest adjustment, is coming back to the food here. And it's just, ugh, it's just blah. Everything's just blah. I haven't had anything that's been like, oh my God, I'm going to have this again. I've had stuff like, oh well, I could eat this again if I had no choice. Panda Express, yeah. I actually haven't gone to Panda Express since getting back here. I wanted to do a Periscope. American guy from China goes to Chinese food from America. Yeah, it's just meh. I don't know what it is, but a lot of the food here seems to have lost its taste. I mean, it's just meh. I mean, it's difficult like to find an apple that tastes that much different from any other apple. You know, they're just all kind of the chicken, the beef, it's all just I just haven't been that excited about stuff eating here. And then going out, I don't know what it is. Washington, D.C. is actually kind of expensive to go out. That's kind of crazy because you're talking to a guy from Hong Kong, you know. I mean, but in Hong Kong, it was cheaper to eat out than it was to eat at home. It just worked out that way. But here, it's cheaper to eat at home. But the food you buy at the grocery is just kind of meh. So, haven't really sussed that one all out. Now that I'm talking about it, I gotta figure out what I'm gonna cook for the kids tonight. I have to make them dinner. My dad's coming to visit. I mentioned that? So the kid's grandpa is coming to visit because it is Grandparents' Day at their school. So my father is coming out to go to school with the boys. You know, there's a couple Korean places, Korean barbecue down in Annandale, which has got about 10,000 Korean people or so. They're okay. We've tried a lot of bad Korean. We found one or two that we actually can deal with. Vietnamese pho, there's some good pho places, or pho, or whatever you want to call it. The Vietnamese noodles. Bandula. Yeah, exactly. These immigrants are not pro cooks. But it's not just that. I mean, even like when I go to like cook myself, I find the food just, you know, meh. Now, I was watching Crazy Rich Asians last night, and they have a scene where they go to the hawker market in Singapore. And he makes the point that like these stores have been here for generations, and these families have worked to make one dish and only one dish for the last like 30 or 40 years. You know, it's just like they really, you know, really take pride. That's why you can go to like these street markets in Singapore and Hong Kong that get like Michelin stars. Yeah, there's like Michelin rated street markets. There's nothing like that here. Yeah, Crazy Rich Asians makes me homesick for Asia. This is like every light's red. Rule Britannia, Britannia rules the waves. So this is the British International School. We do have Five Guys, but they have Five Guys in Hong Kong now too. Life is good. So this is the British school. Wayne Rooney sends his kids here, and a lot of British diplomats and whatnot send their kids here. Those kids who want to stay in the British or colonial type of education system. Gate is ruined. Oh, great. They had a stabbing here last year. I think there was a student with a little bit of issues, stabbed a classmate. It's kind of whacked. So I'm definitely of the opinion that I should not have worn a hoodie sweatshirt today. Maybe on the ride home. So we're now, I guess, crossing the border into what's considered Georgetown, North Georgetown maybe. There's a Safeway here that's generally known as the social Safeway. This is the Safeway where you go to meet others and talk about cheeses and whatnot. So the social Safeway is here in Georgetown. Now there used to be a Safeway in DuPont Circle that never had any food. So people called it the Socialist Safeway. And down where I lived in like Southeast DC, they called it the Unsafe Safeway. But this is the Social Safeway. And Georgetown's over that. We're just going to stay on the street. Man, it is hot. Is there a protest? No, that screaming you heard was recess. Recess at a public school over there. Okay, guys, you want to go down the street with lots of old houses, or you want to go down the street with lots of shops? Because we could do it either way. I can go straight past a bunch of retail stores, which is kind of boring to be honest. Or I can go back past some houses, which, also kind of boring. But, bonsoir, bonjour. Soviet Safeway, not socialist. Okay, Soviet. Old houses. Is it still called that? I don't even know if that Safeway is still there, to be honest. It was like in the basement of the place. It was back when Safeway had mini Safeways. All right, hey, let's go see Katie Graham's house. Katie Graham was the publisher of the Washington Post. In fact, you see the house in the movie The Post. It's just over here. Shade would be good. I was just thinking the same thing. We're having some real camera whiteout issues. This is a good little French bakery. So next Saturday, there's a huge French market set up here on the street. So this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, they're going to close the street, and it's going to have all this French stuff. French food and bakeries and goods. So this will be the Georgetown French Market. This is a big French place. I thought they had a sign up for the market. Oh well. And the temperature has dropped about 5 degrees Celsius by stepping into the shade. So now we're in Georgetown. I hear the Vice President's helicopter. So Vice President Pence is coming in by helicopter, or going out by helicopter, not sure which. Oh, there he is. Nope, it's a telephone pole. Looked like a helicopter. It's still there. Sounds like it just landed. The Vice President's helicopter just landed. Now, my friend of mine was just at the White House, and I know Trump just got on a helicopter heading out. Oh. It is Marine too, yes, when the president's in it. The vice president is in it. It's the same type of Sikorsky that the president flies in usually. They actually use Blackhawks a lot too. They, when they travel in like remote areas, they often take Blackhawk instead of the big, what is it, S3 or whatever it's called. Caught me live, yeah. That's what happens when I move back to the American time zone. More opportunities to catch me live. They are trying to get new helicopters, but the cost has been exorbitant. And they got down the load on one type of helicopter, then they changed their mind. Now they're doing another one. There's a group of people that want the V-22. The V-22 has a very bad reputation, so now they're building, what is it, the V-36 or something like that, which is the follow-on to the V-22. But I don't think that'll be ready in time. So, I mean, the V-22 is like a 40-year-old concept. The Osprey. Am I staying in the U.S.? At least another year. I mean, I just signed the tuition check for next year. Damn, that was expensive. So we'll be here another year, and then we kind of have to decide. My son will be ready for high school. My other son will be ready for middle school. Do we go back to Hong Kong? Oh, they lost, so I guess there's a Game 7. I wasn't paying that close attention. Or do we go somewhere else? Do we go to Bangkok or Singapore? What do we do? What do we do? That's the big question. The school that they're attending now has an amazing placement rate at the top schools in the country, and just killer. One of those kind of places that you walk away from, you're like, what are you thinking leaving a school like this? So not entirely sure what to do. If it was just my wife and me, we'd be in Hong Kong. We wouldn't have come back, I don't think. I do get homesick for Hong Kong frequently. It's interesting that it's like, when my wife and I were talking, we said, you know, Hong Kong is not our home, but it's the kind of place that we belong. And I think that's really true. I mean, technically it wasn't our home. We could never afford to buy a house there. But we really felt like we belonged there. We really fit into the community there. We had friends and all that. And as compared to this, where we do own property, this is where the kids were born, yada yada, but it just doesn't feel homey. It just feels mediocre. Just kind of weird. If this school was in Hong Kong, I don't think we would have left. I mean, we probably would have had to go for job reasons, but we would have come back or something, I don't know.
Can your chair be down here, please? And you can choose this one.
But you know, the kids had to make an adjustment. They had to make an adjustment from the bubble of living overseas to coming back to the United States. So we were asking, when are they going to make that adjustment? Are they going to make it their freshman year in college? Or are they going to make that adjustment while we're still with them, can still counsel and talk to them? They can come to us with problems and stuff. So we thought it's probably a good idea to do it now. Because we have had a lot of reports of expat kids growing up in the bubble and then having a difficult readjustment. So the Vice President's helicopter is taking off just over those trees, but we can't see it yet. Can sure as hell hear it. So we're just waiting to see if it's going to pop up over the horizon. If it's just going to stay low. somewhere. Can you guys hear it? Thumpa, 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 thump. There it is. See it? It was right there in the center. That was the vice president. Told you it was going by. So he's going to fly over probably to Rock Creek and then hang a left or hang a right and then make his way over to like Andrews or something. Or he's going to go left and just get out of the city. I don't know where he's going right now. There is an official helicopter highway map of DC that helicopters have to stay basically on this transit map because there's a lot of helicopters in DC. I mean, you'd be shocked. That was not the Black Hawk, that was the presidential transport that was, I think it's S3 or V3 or something like that. The big Sikorskys, you always see Trump and Clinton and Bush and Reagan and Nixon and all those guys getting in and out of. So a buddy of mine from high school was actually the Marine Guard outside of Marine One for a couple years. And he told me a story about the time when Vice President Bush was using the helicopter. And the helicopter landed, he saluted, Vice President gets off, but then the Vice President stopped, turned to him, held out his hand and said, hey Mike, I heard you just had a baby and became a father for the first time. And my friend, the Marine, was just like, yes, sir, yes. And then he spoke to him for about 20, 30 seconds, asking how his wife was doing and, how things are, how things about being a parent. And then said, well, good luck, Mike, and walked away. And my friend was just so touched by that. He's just like, yeah, touch of class. That was Bush the senior. Okay, so coming up here on the right is Katharine Graham's house, Katie Graham. She was the publisher of the Washington Post, and she's the one that decided to run the Pentagon Papers. She's the one that oversaw the Post during the Watergate, Woodward and Bernstein hearings, and she was a social magnet of Washington, D.C., and she held court right here in this house, 2920 Q Street. Or I'm on R Street. Hello. So this was the publisher of the Washington Post. She lived here. If you watch the movie The Post with Tom Hanks and what's her name? I can't remember. But anyway, they filmed some of the exterior scenes here at this house. There you go. So this was the Washington Post publisher's house, and this is where she had all her, I guess not, they had all of her big social to-dos. She was socially connected to the Kennedys and pretty much everyone else. So we're making our way down to M Street. M as in Mary. Right now we're on R as in Robert. We got a bit to walk, that's for sure. But I wanted to take you past, and it's got a couple blocks, but there's a house down here that has this wrought iron fence made from muskets. Meryl Streep, that's the name. God, I'm getting old. I can't remember names like, 10-time Oscar winner Meryl Streep, or however many Oscars she won. I was going to say Devil Wears Prada, because that was the last movie I saw with her. So I'm going to be in Europe in a couple of weeks, maybe just for a few days. I'll be coming back. LBJ. I don't know where LBJ lived. I know he lived on Capitol Hill for a while. Now, John F. Kennedy, when he was a senator, he lived in Georgetown. That was back on N and like 32nd, 33rd Street. So that's a little bit of a hike from here. H is in Henry. Well, here's the tricky bit. Exactly where I am right now there is no H Street. H would end up in the middle of the Potomac River. Now, if I looped and curved and twisted, I could get over to, like, say, 23rd and H or something like that. Georgetown was a port, and there were slaves and tobacco and all that in Georgetown. But not as big as Annapolis. Annapolis was a big slave port. That's the capital of Maryland. It is a pretty nice area, yeah. It's a little rough in the winter. It's icy. Hello from prison, okay. It's a different place to be. You're in Washington, D.C. on 28th Street right now, 28th coming up to Q. I'm taking you down to 28th and P, where there is a fence made out of 19th century rifles, muskets. It's actually a beautiful day today. It's like 75 and clear. I think the Capitals have a final game to make their way onto the Stanley Cup eventually. I was watching K-pop videos all morning, so I decided I'm going to go have Korean food for lunch. My kid has a science fair later today, so I'll go do that and then soccer practice at night. It's one of those really exciting days. Georgetown is not, I don't know if it's necessarily the oldest community, but it was a freestanding city and port before Washington was founded. So when Washington, D.C. was created, Georgetown became part of the Washington, D.C. area, and then eventually was sucked in by Washington as a city. So Georgetown doesn't exist as a freestanding city anymore, but at one time it did. As a result, there are a lot of old buildings here. I don't know if the oldest, I think actually one of the oldest buildings in the city is still here. Yeah, fun, exciting day, yeah. Just thrilling, you know. Fate of mankind depends on K-pop videos and soccer practice. Yeah, there are a lot of brick sidewalks. Though the trees' roots have really kind of mucked up some of the sidewalks. So we're really close to this fence I've been talking to you about. BTS is K-pop, but I was watching Blackpink because I'm a guy. Yeah. And let's put it this way. If you look at the demographics of Blackpink video watching, it's basically 12 to 16-year-old females and 40 to 45-year-old males. Hey, Colorado. So I was watching Boombayah and Kill This Love, their new song. Then I got sucked into a time warp of Game of Thrones reaction videos, and that led me into Star Wars teaser trailer reaction videos, which was just like... And then I sort of said, why am I doing this? I said, you know what, get out of the house. Hey, thanks for watching. Hope you like it. So we're going to show you this house, 2803 P as in Paul Street Northwest. And the reason we're going to show you this house is because the fence was made from surplus U.S. Army rifles, muskets. Last episode of what, Game of Thrones? The last episode of Game of Thrones was just sort of setting up what's going to be a bloody battle royale. There's simply no way to, you know, everybody is just eager. So as far as character development, this was actually one of the best episodes in a long time. There were some very moving scenes, very touching scenes as the characters. So here we are at the fence, and you look here, you can see that? That's an aiming sight. And several of these fence posts have the old, let me see if I can zoom in on that, the old aiming sight from where the gun, you know, because they were guns. So these muskets, these were muskets or whatever they had back in the day. Let me see if I can get it without the, it's really hard to zoom. There we go. Oh, there's a great picture of it. You see that? So that's the aiming sight of the gun barrel. So this is known as gun barrel fence. Gun barrel fence. And it's at the intersection of 28th and P, Northwest Washington, D.C. Yeah, pretty funky. You do really need to know. I mean, if you don't know where it is, you won't find that fence. But 2803 P Street Northwest, if you ever happen to be in DC, and you can walk over to that and just look at some of them, and you'll be like, hey, I know what that is. Impress your friends. So like that house there, that 3-story townhouse with a basement, that's easily like $2 to $3 million. This little one here is like $1.8 million, something like that. And then these big corner jobbies are $2.5 to $3 million. Yeah, that was a really kind of random parking job. I used to live on this street, a couple blocks that way, before I went to law school. Guess what? We're only a few blocks away from the restaurant. Woohoo! You didn't know that? Oh, you got to come over. I don't practice law. I'm a techie. Though when I was in law school, I did a lot of con law. It's funny. I went to the University of Notre Dame, and our freshman year, we had a class. Our first year of law school, we had a class, constitutional law. Okay, so there were 2 sections because the school was big. So there was one group who had one teacher, one group who had the other teacher. And the number 1 student in that class got an award called the Amger Award, the top student in that class. I got the Amger Award for constitutional law in my section. And this other girl named Amy, she got the Amger Award for constitutional law in the other section. All right, fast forward 20 odd years or so, and the other girl, her name is Amy Coney Barrett, and she is President Trump's likely next pick to the Supreme Court. Yeah, okay. So if you ever heard of Amy Coney Barrett, she was my classmate at Notre Dame, and she's now a professor and a judge out there, and she will likely become the next presidential nominee to the Supreme Court should the vacancy arise under the Trump administration. But at one point, we both got the Amger Award. Of course, she's done a little bit more in con law than I have since that time, just a tad. And, but at that one time, yeah. I could have been a contender. I could have been a Supreme Court justice had I just followed a different path. I am that old. My half plus 7 rule is 32 or so, something like that, which means like Scarlett Johansson, yeah, you're on my list. But Natalie Portman's too young. And as are pretty much all the K-pop gals I watch on TV. Half plus 7. Take your age, divide it in half, add 7. That's your half plus 7 rule. That's what it is socially acceptable to date. Someone who is half your age plus 7. So if you're 40 years old, take it in half, that's 20, then go up to 27. So a 40-year-old could go out with a 27-year-old without it being, it's kind of on the edge, right? She's a professor, and yeah, she's also on the appellate court in Chicago. So she does sort of double duty. Some days she's at the courthouse, some days she's teaching. So my half plus 7 rule is 32, or 30, almost 33 now. So I can go out with gals like Scarlett Johansson. Yeah, hey, it works. But some of the other ones are just too young. Yeah. God. I could possibly even remotely keep up with a 25 or 30-year-old. 43 dating 27. That's, well, you know, if it's in Hollywood, that's okay. But the half plus 7 rule would say 43 divided by 2, so that's, what, 21 and a half, plus 7. See, 28 and a half would be kind of the edge of the half plus 7 rule. But, you know, the interesting thing about the math is that in a couple years, it'll work out. So, like, if you're like 46 in 3 years, they'll be 30 in 3 years, and then at that point, half plus 7 makes sense. So yeah, see, it's sort of a sliding scale. It gets a little bit more acceptable. Now in Hollywood, the basic rule is anything over 18, all right, and sometimes even below that. Okay. Hey, puppy. See how crowded it is. Hopefully the signal will stay on. Hi. Can I have a half lettuce, half rice? White rice. Yeah. And chicken? Regular chicken, yeah. Carrot, cucumber, and corn. Teriyaki sauce. For here. Teriyaki. Just a little bit. That's fine. Signal is wrong. It is like a healthier version of Chipotle.
Water.
It's called Cougars. There's kimchi. I have a soda too. I'm not calling you. Hey. Yeah, we're gonna die. Maybe. Zoom. I'll go outside. It's hot though. Hang on a second, guys. Let's get out this door. Show you outdoors? I'll just eat here. You guys can see my soda. Whew. So this is lunch. You like Sprite? I got a Diet Coke today. Anyway, guys, this is my lunch. Thanks a lot for watching. Maybe I'll come back a little later. Yeah, it is unhealthy. I know, but I like it. Maybe we'll come back in a bit and take you around Georgetown University. So let me have lunch and just follow me. And maybe we'll come back after lunch and show you the campus. See you then.